So I think for golfers, the fairway woods and the 3-wood particularly becomes the most frustrating club in the bag because they feel like everything's good. They make a swing and they just cold top one 20, 30 yards, or even the better one just doesn't really feel like they've got all the club on the ball. That one just maybe a little bit low on the face, kind of getting out there okay, but not really what we're looking for. Having maybe got a great tee shot away in a long par 4 or par 5, and that ability to get there in 2. So in today's video, I'm going to show you what you've always been doing wrong with the fairway woods, how a little change of mindset and then change of how you deliver the club is going to get you hitting it out of the better part of the face, hitting it higher, hitting it further, and maybe, just maybe, the 3-wood that's in your bag might become your new best friend. So, what's the initial challenge most golfers face? 3-wood especially, but I would say even with the fairway woods, 5-wood, even 7-wood now for some golfers, the lack of loft on the club head. And I think as golfers, we all enjoy seeing the golf ball going up in the air and getting to a decent height. So when you look down on a fairway wood, and this TaylorMade QI10 3-wood has got 15 degrees of loft on it, you kind of look down, and particularly because the face is black and the top of the head's black, you don't really see a lot of loft on the face. So what you'll see with a lot of golfers is as they swing the golf club, they're trying to keep as much loft on it as possible. And as a general rule, they miss the ground, the club travels up, and that's where they top it or thin it. Or they do touch the ground, but it tends to be a little bit behind the golf ball. So we need to think of a fairway wood very much in the same way that we think of an iron, that the club wants to be travelling down through impact so that we hit ball and then ground. We don't need a lot of contact with the ground, but we do need a little bit. So the first thing we would tend to see with golfers, and particularly when they come to see me, and it's great that I've got some feedback of having TrackMan, is they'll make the swing. So we can see it's a little bit low on the face. We can see there the low point's 3.5 inches behind. Club's travelled up 2.4 degrees, launched at 14 degrees, and it's a good result at 216 and 228. But to hit that shot, got to be so good at delivering the height the club comes back at. That'd have been so easy just to catch that a bit heavy, or if I come back a little higher, that could have very easily been topping the shot. So what you need to understand is if you want to see the ball go up in the air more with a fairway wood, you need to understand how the club face works. So even though there's 15 degrees of loft on this face, 15 degrees is actually in the middle, and because the curve on the face, there's less loft lower down and more loft higher up. So it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but we're almost trying to de-loft the club at impact to try and get that contact higher up the club face. And we've all heard about kind of trampoline effect as well, haven't we? Well, the most bouncy bit of the trampoline is the middle. So if you're hitting it off the bottom, which would be the edge of the trampoline, we're never going to really see that maximum distance anyway. So what you need to do is potentially have the ball position a little bit further back, so maybe just forward of centre. And again, once you're getting to the top of your backswing, you want to feel that you move aggressively towards the target so that as you come into the golf ball, the handle is a little bit ahead and you de-loft in the club, very much like you would with your irons and your hybrids. So the first thing I would do is hit that, feel where the strike is, and if the launch is too low but the strike's good, all it's going to show probably is that the low point's too far ahead, and that's where we need to play around with ball position. So just forward of centre, going to move nice and early into that left side. And that felt much better. We can see there, 0.8 inches ahead, club's travelled down 1 degree, launched at 12 degrees, 222 carry and 250 total, but most importantly, look at that strike nicely out of the middle of the club. Now, like I said, probably this is what most golfers do wrong. We could see there, I only had the ball slightly forward of centre, whereas for a lot of us, we're getting told that we need to have that ball much further forward. And definitely when I grew up, that was what I was told. And if I have that ball well forward in my stance nowadays, that's the shot I used to hit all day long. You see the low point behind, nearly missed it strike-wise. And it's chased out and it's okay, but it's nothing like I should be doing. So I have to have that mindset more like an iron, ball a bit more central, just need to get that shaft leaning forward so we can deliver a bit more loft. And you have to do it by getting early into that lead side, moving that weight, shifting that pressure so that you can deliver the club more appropriately. So again, let's get that ball just slightly forward of centre for me. And let's focus on moving nice and early into that lead side. Again there, felt much higher at the club face. Low point under the ball, so angle of attack only down half a degree, but launched a bit higher at 14 degrees. And again, the carry at 222 and total nearly 250. And I would say, for me particularly, there's always a tendency that I've got to be careful that ball's not creeping too far forward with my fairway wood. Especially my 3-wood, that's the one, the club on the ground, longer shaft, least lofted. I don't get away with it like I probably need to when I'm not perfect. So it's really making sure that ball position's good and then making sure I shift into that lead side. And it's so easy to start going, back off, not control that low point, and then we start losing strike. Also, when that low point's moving around, it means the ball's in a different part of the golf swing each time. Therefore, that can change path, face. So not only is it distance, but also accuracy can become incredibly difficult to control. So again, let's get that set. Really focus on being even earlier into that lead side this time. That felt good. And again, we see there, low point just slightly ahead. Club's traveling down, but we would call that very shallow through impact. A tiny bit low off the face, but launching at 13.1 degrees, carry it nearer 230, and then total at 245. Whether this is 3-wood, 5-wood, or 7-wood for you, once you feel that that contact is more consistently solid, I think those are the holes, aren't they, where if I've, say, got 260 to a par 5, I could just put that swing on it and be just short. But I want to feel that if I really want to have a go at one, I can try and be a little bit quicker, but focus on that movement, get that strike. But we can see, unfortunately, there, a low point a little behind. Angle of attack's dead shallow. And even though I've gone a little bit quicker there, we can see launch angle's down and total isn't. So sometimes it's not a case of putting more speed in if we lose that strike. We could see there, I used the outside of the trampoline, and even though I was quicker, less distance on the shot. So really treat your 3-wood, 5-wood, 7-wood, whichever fairway wood it is, more like an iron, monitor that ball position, make sure you shift nice and early into that lead side, and all of a sudden, the fairway woods might become your new favourite clubs.